Hi, I'm Jill Chivers from 16 Style Types.
And I'm Imogen Lamport from Inside Out Style. Now, today we're going to talk about, I think, a fascinating topic, and that is how to improve your style, because that's something that people are coming here to find out.
Yeah.
And there's two ways of going about this, and this is based on your psychological type. So you may, if you have your psychological type, your Myers-Briggs, your MBTI, there's lots of different names for it. It's usually a 4-letter code. You might know what this is, and you can find out over on 16styletypes.com. But what this is whether you prefer sensing or whether you prefer intuiting, and then actually how knowing this will help you improve your style because of what you actually need to do.
Yeah. Sensing and intuition are two ways of taking in information, and it's a dichotomy approach. So the suggestion is that we do one over the other. We do both, but one is our preferred way of taking in information. So those of us who are sensing, I am a sensing type, we take in information through our 5 senses. Information is tangible, concrete. There's always a practical application to it. We're often considered the detail people. So there's a couple of varieties of sensing, but that gives you an overview of what sensing preference people are like and how they prefer to take in information, as opposed to
the intuiting types, and I am an intuiting type. And we do take in the information through the senses, but then we process it in a different way. So it's often this knowing without knowing is the easiest way. So I just know stuff, and I don't know how I know it, and I don't know where it came from. More big picture.
Yeah.
So don't notice the detail in the same way, versus the senses tend to notice the details. Yeah. And one of the things that we know is that senses like to improve through constant practice.
Yes.
Whilst intuitors prefer to improve through constant novelty, and they are very different things. And you might go, how do I improve? Like, how do I get better at something?
Yeah.
And so you'd be more practice, and I'm looking for novelty. I know one of the things I do is I will challenge myself regularly to create a new outfit out of something in my wardrobe, putting some things together that I have never done before.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have a high need for variety. But for me, variety and novelty are not the same thing. And what I mean by variety is probably very different to what you mean by variety. For me, having wrap dresses in different colours is variety. When you actually look at the construct of what I wear, it almost constitutes a uniform. That it's often very, very similar, but it looks different because I'm using pattern and because I'm using colour. But there's a constancy to it. And the whole idea of improving through practice is repeating an action over and over. Particularly those with an SJ preference, well, the way that those of us with S and J in our type code, it will have that sense of methodical repetition. SPs will often want to move in slightly different directions to it, but will always have that very pragmatic bent. I'm doing it. It's hands-on. Yes. So that's where you see that sense of practice that comes in. Really different to those with N in their type code, looking for the new, the possibilities, connections that have never been put together before. And this is really the hallmark of intuition: possibilities, connections. They're often the ones that will have a vision of how things could be. Or they just know that these two things which seem disparate, they bring them together and somehow they work.
And it's even things like going, well, it's more likely that it'll be your kind of, your intuitor who goes, I'm going to put my cardigan on upside down.
Right.
I'm going to try it in a different way. It's the novelty factor.
Yeah.
I'm going to wear my formal wear with my casual wear. I'm going to try some different things. And it's one of those things I notice when I go in people's wardrobes. That quite often I'll go, oh, you can just put these things together. And I'll go, I've never thought about putting those things together before.
Yeah.
Which is, probably they're a sensor who's gone, I always just wear A with B, and then, A might sometimes go with C, but basically that's it.
Yeah.
And I've never thought about wearing them with D, E, F and G.
Yeah.
So that often goes on, but what I notice with sensors is this, it might be a similar sort of outfit, but then subtle tweaks keep happening. So the practice comes in and the improvement comes from this, okay, I've done it like this. What I need to do is the top needs to go up slightly, and it's these little detailed changes that happen.
Yes, that's a really important point. This, when you sort of leap the chasm in a single bound, is often what you see with the intuitors. The S's will make changes and adaptations adaptations, but they tend to be more of an incremental nature. And depending on what else is going on in your type code, there also needs to be a really good reason for it, because if it's working, why would you mess around with it? I think that S's in general are more likely to need a bit of a prompt to make some change in their wardrobe, because that sense of stability, particularly SJs, is really, really important, or the sense of it's just working, it's working really well. And so I just, why would I mess around with it? Whereas for the intuitives, it's just fun too.
It's fun, it's a play. And this is where too, even that this is one of the things but if you're doing the same thing through practice all the time, this is where dated can come in.
Yeah.
That is one of the things just to be a little bit wary of, is that sometimes it can be, oh, I've been doing the same thing forever, and like don't fix what's not broke, as they say.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's hit a point where it actually does need a bit of a shift.
Yeah.
So that is something to be aware of. But often it's just many subtle changes over time using more similar sorts of things.
Yeah.
Versus when you think about the intuitor, it will be like, oh, I'm going to try things I've never worn together before. I'm going to try putting them together in very different ways. I'm going to layer up in a way that I don't normally go. I'm going to wear the dress over the pants, then I'm going to add the jacket, and then I'll have a shirt over the top, and I'm going to try all these things just to see how it works. And some things will work and some things will not work. And that vision does not always work. But we've got to experiment to do that.
That's the difference between the innovation and the adaptation, and how the approach is. And like that there's a potential pitfall for sensors, the potential pitfall for intuitors is that it comes off as a little weird or a little quirky, or in this search for uniqueness, there ends up being a lot of orphans, things that don't play together, or things that suited a mood, but as time has progressed, you often wonder what person purchased this item of clothing, because it can't have been me. So there's always a pitfall. This is the thing with psychological type, is there's always a blind spot where there's a gift. And so, it's just two really different ways of approaching style improvement. And style improvement is really important. The whole idea that your style is dynamic and alive, because you're dynamic and alive, and so your style needs to move with you.
So as I always say, it's a journey, not a destination. Because, and this is why fashions keep changing, everything keeps changing, and you keep changing, and so your style adapts through your life and for different circumstances, locations, all those things. But it's not I've got this one style and I'm set and I'm done forever. It's still going to have to adapt, and this is where, well, how do I improve it? You might want to look to your psychological type and go, am I best with practice? Am I best with small, subtle tweaks? Or am I best with, I'm going to try novelty, and I'm going to try things out? And for both of them, it's take the photos and notice which, I always love watching a bunch of photos together, and you can really start to go, that outfit works and that one doesn't work so well. And you can start to go, well, what is it? Why was that one that much more successful? And that's something you'll learn through practice, through doing, whether it is using novelty or whether it is using constant practice.